news to get into, so welcome to the Paranormal News. First of all, we got to start in West Virginia. We have a witness stating that they saw a triangle UFO that contained a black hole. This is the first time for us here on the show. We have yet to cover a UFO that creates a black hole. This is crazy. And the black hole was actually seen in the center of the UFO itself in the night sky. It must have looked extremely trippy. Their quote was, the solid white lights formed the 3 points of a triangle at first, and then the faint outline of a structure between the points was barely visible. There's not much you can say to explain this one, Mikey. A black hole in a UFO.
Well, what kind of black hole? Like just like a legitimate, like in the universe type black hole, or
considering it was at night,
was like sucking stuff into it?
Yeah, I doubt that very highly, because there's really nothing to suck unless they got a bird in there.
We've already talked about, right now that our own government has been trying to kind of create a black hole. So maybe this technology already exists and these aliens have the secret to that.
That makes sense.
And that would make sense with time travel as well.
Yeah, basically this is one of those situations where the witness saw the lights completely illuminated and they started to fade away with the black hole going on in the middle of the thing. Very intense.
Crazy.
Another quote here, there appeared to be at one point a large dark hole in the center of the object. I observed it for in excess of 45 minutes as it slowly moved away.
Let me ask a question here to you guys, because this is my problem with a lot of this stuff that I've been hearing lately with a lot of these, people seeing stuff. I mean, we live in the age now of smartphones. Every motherfucker has a phone that's got a camera on it. Why are they not getting shots of this stuff? Like, I'm sorry, but the first time I see something like that, my phone is like already out and I'm recording right away, like what I'm seeing. Why don't these people have any video evidence?
A lot of times, you have the video evidence came back and it's at nighttime, so it doesn't even help. Our cameras on the phones are not nearly powerful enough to catch something so far away and so dark. You normally have to have it at the middle of the day when it's bright as hell, and if it's far away, unless you got one of those phones with a crazy zoom gimmick feature, then you're not going to be able to capture it all unless you got an actual
I'd still
camera.
film something, even if it was a little dot moving around on my phone. Yeah. I'm still filming it.
We do have a picture here that they posted, but as I said, it's from a phone, so you really can't even see anything. It's just like a nice picture in the middle of the day. In fact, they posted a bunch of them, but nothing that we can really make out. Perhaps if we had some kind of Photoshop technology where we can zoom in.
Now my other question is, what are these UFOs doing? Every time we hear about a UFO, it's just flying. Like, what is it doing? It's just they just fly around and just keep flying.
That's one of the ultimate questions.
We never really anybody talk about UFO stopped and then like stuff came out of it, or it was moving erratically and then it disappeared. Like,
that's a good question, Kyle.
I think
stuff came out of it for sure.
I have heard stories of UFOs stopping in the middle of the woods and landing.
Oh, yeah.
I've heard of all sorts of different things, so it's really...
but we have never seen that. That's what I'm saying. Like, we've seen some things that look like UFOs, but they're just moving, they're flying, they're moving. Never really seen anything like that. One just staying there, not moving at all.
I've never seen it, personally myself.
And that's a good question, because it's like, if they traveled all this way just to get to Earth, then why the hell are they just flying about in the sky? A lot of times just, not even in one straight line. It's like they're doing a crescent route, like, for no reason.
They don't need us, first of all, because obviously they're way more advanced than we are, unless their planet is being destroyed or already is destroyed.
Well, maybe.
And if that was the case, there'd be a lot of aliens coming over here to taking over right now.
And the one thing I'll point out is the main thing you can say they might be doing if they're just floating with no means. Maybe they're observing us, because I don't have any other theory, Raspo.
I think another theory that I have is that they are in another dimension right now, and we can only see them at certain times. Like, their dimension is overlapped on our dimension.
Well, then let me ask you this, Matt. If that's the case, which I've thought before, then that still doesn't explain why they're flying in an indirect fashion, or they're just doing strange ambient-like things.
They're trying to get our attention so that we can maybe help them out, because they're screwed in their own dimension.
Good take, Matt.
What about this, though? What about this? What if the reason we're only seeing them flying around, like you said, they're scouting scouting out. Maybe the rest of them are on their way here. It just takes that long for them to get here. So right now in the moment, we're starting to see more of them because more of their scouts are getting
that's
here.
Not good.
No, because everyone's thinking, oh, I mean, if there's here, there'd be a ton of them. They'd be attacking us. Maybe they are. Maybe it's just taking, from wherever they're coming from, it's taking long, quite a while. I mean, you think space travel, 100 years in space, even if you're traveling at the lightest speed, is not that far.
It's true.
And if you're talking about in the universe with galaxies, it takes forever. So maybe they're already on their way. These ones that are here took off a long time ago, and eventually one day they will be here.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I've never even thought of it like that.
It's very possible.
We have all these very trippy theories, guys, and it's amazing how in our last installment of the Paranormal News, we covered what looked to be very, very good evidence that maybe UFOs are in fact real from a NASA live stream feed, and nobody cares. We're one of the only platforms that cover this kind of thing. So you could have blatant evidence, and people will just overlook it and be like, "Yeah, who cares?"
And NASA just randomly cuts off the feed.
That's a really trippy theory that you talked about, Kyle, because that really would be true. If you're going to scout for
somewhere to
Earth
live
or something like your own Earth or anything, you're going to send out a scout. Thousands of years before you send out a whole fleet,
kind of like ants,
people to
Anthill gets destroyed.
A reconnaissance mission came out.
Yeah, exactly. Anthills get destroyed. You have those scouts that go out, they find another spot, and then all of a sudden there's a line of them all coming.
Then you send the second team of scouts.
And I mean, we're talking about
everything good.
Most of these alien sightings and everything, or I guess you could say after the Egyptian times, was kind of in the 60s. We had Roswell, you had Area 51. We started kind of seeing them. People started talking about.
There's been a spike in them lately, though.
And a spike in them lately. So that's what I'm saying. That was 50 years ago, 50-some years ago, to now. Maybe in the next 50 years, they're going to finally show up.
Yeah. Definitely some interesting takes, guys. I do want to cover another UFO sighting, which was in Ohio. Now, talk about something that could very well be pure evidence that is completely overlooked, despite the fact that it's extremely blatant here. I mean, this is one that was spotted by 3 members of a family, and it might have actually touched their car. So you have an Ohio witness, driving along Route 56. So this is between Sydney and London, Ohio. They watched a rectangle-shaped UFO that hovered over their vehicle. Now, this is a slow-flying vehicle, and they said, quote, "I could have stood on top of the truck and touched the bottom." What the hell is going on with this one? They reported driving back to London, Ohio from Sydney. There was 3 family members in the vehicle when the incident occurred. This was back in April. Here's another quote. "It was me, my mother, my oldest daughter, she's 9, and we had just picked my youngest daughter from my grandparents. We were driving down Route 56, coming back toward London." What do you think, K-Mac? You have a family here. How can you say they're making something up?
Well, I mean, if they all saw the same thing, then yeah. I mean, you gotta take their word for it, right?
It's a rectangle-shaped vehicle. You pretty much have no explanation for this thing.
You really don't, and they don't either. But like I said, one of the kids don't have a smartphone? They're gonna pull it out and try to film this thing. I mean,
well, here's what happens.
I gotta start seeing more proof on these stories.
Yeah, and I buy that. But here's the exact line of events that happened with these guys as they were driving their car. You have the craft moving in extremely slow. It flew out over a field, and as it got closer, the craft turned around and flew back over the road and hovered above their truck. They were driving in this truck here, so it's a little bit higher than your average car. The driver stopped the truck in the middle of the roadway. They said, "The craft stopped above the truck. I rolled the window down to look at it myself, and my 9-year-old were trying to look. I got my phone out to take a picture of it. The phone would not pick up the lights on the craft or anything. The screen on the phone just stayed black."
Wow.
There's your answer.
So, I guess there you go. So they have like EMPs on them that are like blocking out video, footage and stuff like that. Maybe your phones are temporarily disabled.
It could be.
Which shape was this UFO?
This was rectangular.
See, if it's a rectangular shape, my theory is that in order to stop it, you gotta get objects that are the exact opposite shapes.
It's like a circle.
Get some circles,
triangle.
Get some
looking at the upcoming movie Pixels, where they're trying things like that, pretty much.
The octagon.
You have Donkey Kong and Pac-Man taking over the world.
What about the rhombus?
Hey
Rhombus,
guys,
yeah.
Here's some quotes to leave off this
agent.
story here from the Ohio family, because one of the members of the family is 2 years old and they witnessed this thing. They say, at this time, my mother and my 2-year-old were both yelling. My mom was screaming for me to drive, and my 2-year-old was terrified, shaking and crying so hard. There was no noise coming from the craft at all. It was so low I could have stood on the top of the truck and touched the bottom of the UFO. As I drove away, it just sat there. Then it disappeared. Mike, that is some damning evidence.
That's crazy shit right there.
Good-ass drugs.
The author's like,
A
no big
2-year-old?
deal. No big deal. I could have touched UFO.
I've got 2 kids here.
Yeah, I'd like to get the mother on the phone, so that'd be awesome.
Where was this at?
This was in Ohio, between London and Sydney, I believe the city was.
What number would you have to call there, Mike?
888-69 Bubba. Give us a call, anyone, if you've ever witnessed anything like this.
Oh yeah, 1-888-69 Bubba.
Yeah, they're saying they didn't actually list an exact date or time during April 15 when this happened.
This is in Madison County, Ohio. We record out of Tampa Bay, Florida. Man, we have so many people from Ohio in the area. So for anybody who's familiar with Madison County, Ohio, just know that you have a huge rectangular-shaped UFO that got so low it might have come in contact with a family just driving between two of the Sydneys, Sydney and London, Ohio.
I heard there was a lot of pets missing in that area, too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Ohio is definitely very trippy. That's interesting stuff, and definitely more to cover out of Ohio and the rest of America as we cover more paranormal news on the Monday edition of the show. Make sure you guys join up. We're going to cover paranormal news most of the time in the 4th segment of our show, so if you want to hit up Bubba Army Radio at 11:30, you can almost be guaranteed to catch the authentic and really the best way to hear the up-to-date UFO news here on the Trippy Show. Guys, it's time for a shot. I know we probably can't handle it. Mike,